Good.
So let's get going. So I am so thrilled to introduce Lucy Becker to my expert talks series. And just to let you know that Lucy has been in my life for many years when I was exploring, my sexuality and my energy around, after my divorce and all of that. I found Lucy. Of course, I did some stuff in India when I was away, but coming to North America was really important for me to connect with somebody here. And of course, I was so blessed to find Lucy Becker, who is the expert in Tantra. I don't know anybody else who does the work that you do here in this part of the world, that's for sure. So that's how Lucy is here today to talk to us about energy, sexuality, what happens when we need to go out and start dating again and all that stuff, and we'll get into that later. But anyways, everyone, here's Lucy. Hi, Lucy. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Diana. Oh, you're very welcome. I really appreciate that you invited me. And thank you for such a lovely acknowledging introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Lucy, just so that everybody knows, a little bit about you, do you want to just tell us a little bit more about how you came into Tantra and all the years of work that you've been doing? I mean, you've been doing this for so long.
Sure.
Let us know.
Okay, good. Well, I started Tantra just by becoming a student. I was really interested in the work. I loved it. I took a weekend course, and I was just so blown away by it. So I actually studied it as a student for 7 years. I was working, so it was a part-time study. And I never intended to become a teacher. It just kind of ended up being that way, just organically sort of happened. So I started teaching, this would be 1996, and I've been teaching ever since. So it's 25 years this year. And I've done a lot of public work here at the University of Toronto and the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine, lots of yoga studios and organizations, festivals, that sort of thing. I don't do much of that anymore because, of course, I'm doing my private workshops. But I did work hard to establish a relationship of trust with the community and a reputation for providing, really outstanding results for people, singles and couples.
Yeah, yes, that's wonderful. That's amazing to be doing this work for so long. And I know that your private practice and your workshops are just amazing. People come in from all over to attend your workshops. So that's so amazing. So Lucy, why don't we just get into some questions here? Because I mean, like I said, when I started working with you, I think I've done pretty much all of your workshops and all of your courses, right? I think I've done all of them now. It really shifted everything for me, like in a big way. And now I have no issues around sexuality, I didn't think. I thought I was open and, had no blocks. But what I found was when I started taking your courses, that I really had a lot of things that needed to be cleared out. And once that happened, it was just amazing. It was like a magnet. Like men were off the street stopping me, and it was just crazy. I remember the very first workshop, literally the next morning, that's what happened. After the first night, even, it wasn't even the full workshop. It was just like the intro. So I can't tell you how incredibly powerful your work is to all, to healing and to, all couples and women. And so on that, we talk about how do we recuperate? How do we reclaim our love lives in our group? And a lot of the members that I have who are watching right now are, healing from heartbreak, but there's a lot of them who have done the work and they want to know, how do they go forward in their love lives now? How do they manage? And, I give them a taste of what Tantra is all about from an energetic point of view, but perhaps you can just expand on, you know, the question, like, what do you look for in a partner? From that Tantra point of view, like, what are you looking for when you're looking for a mate? What do you think?
Yeah, it's very important to know what you want. Yeah, if you're out there dating, and a lot of women don't know. They have you know, an idea and a sense in their heart, but the conscious knowing of it they don't have. So it's always a good idea to make a list and keep updating the list. Like, what kind of man do I want? And to be really truthful. This is what I found with some girlfriends where we'd be having the conversation. So what do you want next? What's next for you? And I remember one gal saying to me, well, you know, I know this isn't politically correct and I probably won't do it, but you know what? I really just want to be a stay-at-home mom. I don't want to have to work. I want to be provided for.
Mm-hmm.
And I want the guy to have a lot of money. She was really clear about that, but she didn't think she could do it or deserved it or that it was right. And really, there's nothing wrong with what you want, you know, but you have to know what you want. And so I said to her, if that's what you want, go for it. And do you know what? Within a year, she was married to a millionaire. And then a couple of years later, not even 2 years later, she had a little boy. So she had the life she was looking for. She gave herself permission to want what she wants and to have what she wants. Yeah. So that's the first thing, is really know yourself and then give yourself permission to have it. When you're dating, have that in your mind. You know, I wouldn't wait too long, you know, when you're dating to explore this stuff. It doesn't have to be like a deep exploration, okay? But to say what you want. So, you know, this happens a lot. Women in the back of their minds say, I want to have kids. I want to have a child. And they know, that doesn't just mean I want a child someday. Often they'll say, I need to do this within a year or 2 or 3, or they're very clear. But they don't communicate that because they think it's going to drive a guy away. But it's really important that you say that kind of stuff up front and say, you know what, I'm looking for someone who can, someone who also wants kids. Well, maybe that wouldn't be the way to say it, but I'm looking to have a family, and I want to have a child in the next year or 2, or whatever it is for you. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, he can think about it, because guys know, right? I mean, just saying I want a kid, he might say, yeah, I could, yeah, okay, well, let's think about it. But in his mind, he's thinking, yeah, 5 years from now or 10 years from now, once I've got my business established. Because that's really important for men. Some men, they usually will do pretty much what their dad did. So if their dad was establishing a business, something like that, they'll get that handled before they take on a relationship on a long-term basis or a family. For some men, that's not what they want. They want to start it now and have a wife who accompanies them along their way. Mm-hmm. But guys will know. So if you're upfront with them, then he can consider and say yes or no. More or less, he'll tell you what he can do. And even if he can't do it, he might say, but I know somebody who you should meet. I know somebody who wants a family. Why don't you just say hello and get to know that person? You never know.
Yeah.
So know yourself, give yourself permission, communicate what you want. Really honestly, because men will self-select. They'll select themselves out, and then you won't waste 6 months or a year or 2 or 5 finding out that this wasn't, you didn't tell them, and now what,
I love that. That is so important, to really know what you want and to be really communicated. And we talk about that a lot in my programs as well. But that is great advice. Yeah. Was there anything else?
Yeah, I have one more thing that just came to mind. And that is, every woman should keep developing herself dating, not dating, married, in a relationship, elevate yourself. Keep learning, keep developing. You don't want to depend on other people, like the man in your life, to make you happy. Yeah, of course he's going to do his best to do that. It's kind of a by design, men want to make women happy, just they don't always know how to do that. And, they'll make you happy what they think. So you kind of have to communicate what you need to be happy. But do what it takes to be happy. Explore your interests. If you've got issues from the past that are interfering with your present, just like what you're doing with Diana, do the work to get over stuff, to resolve it, and bring yourself to a state of neutral or happy, so that you can more or less stay there. So you're not dependent on somebody else for that, and then you end up nagging them and so forth, which I'll talk about in a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's amazing advice. So amazing. It's so clear, to have those rules. I don't think many women weren't really taught that, to be clear with your communication. I talk about that a lot, like I said, but anyways, one of the things that shifted everything for me in your course was the work around energy. And now, coming from an energetic background, being a Reiki master and all of that was good, but I didn't, at that time, I still had this real emotional block around connection, and I call it heart armor. And I thought I was dismantling it, but it wasn't working, whatever I was doing, because clearly it just busted me open. So when we talk about, also what it did was it softened me. It really softened me. And I see a lot of this with women. They're in their masculine, they're charging ahead, and I know for me, that's what happened to me. Do you want to maybe talk more about the masculine and feminine energies and how they relate to, just being in a loving and respectful relationship?
Yeah, sure. So men and women are really different. The masculine and the feminine are designed by nature in a certain way, and they're not the same. But we as women, we tend to look at men from our own biological perspective, and we make them wrong for being men. So there are things that men do that are by design, by nature, that we think are wrong, because women would never do that. Yeah. And so we end up doing things like, and also we have a little woman in our head called the ideal woman. And she's always after us, and she's relentless, and she's vicious. And she says things like, you're not good enough, and if you were a better woman, this wouldn't happen. And, if you were a better woman, you'd get a man faster, or, la, right? And if you could just be perfect like me. So the thing to know is that this woman doesn't exist. She's in your head. You could never live up to her, first of all. And you try and make men become like your ideal woman, more like her. Yeah. So she's the one that has the perfect house and the perfect work, and everything's perfect. Yeah, it's a complete illusion. But by design, women are like that, because why? Evolutionarily, women, needed men because they're bigger, because we give birth and we can't take care of ourselves and our children, food, shelter, protection from the evil, neighbors, let's say the other tribes people somewhere else. So we were completely dependent. The feminine was completely dependent on masculine. So we developed behaviors, the women who were the most pleasing, the women who were in their own mind most perfect, they would get the guy, and they would be safe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Safety is so important for women. I'm not deprived. I'm safe from, the wolves. So I'm provided for, I'm protected, that kind of thing. So where was I?
Masculine and
Yeah,
feminine energies. Yeah.
yeah. So we tend to compare men to our ideal woman and also to our own femininity of how we're made. So what we do to control men so that they'll do what we want is we'll emasculate. And it's the biggest thing that interferes with relationships. You know, in the beginning, women don't do it too much. You know, the hormones are going and it's like everything seems to be golden. And then the the fan, right? Like reality starts to come in. You start maybe living together and so forth. And so we emasculate. Now, we don't even understand how we do this. So I got this kind of ready because I can't remember all of them.
I
But let me,
love this topic, Lucy. This is perfect because I totally emasculated my husband in my relationship.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes.
this is so perfect. This is exactly what we do that we need to be conscious of. So please give us the list. Give us the list.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so how emasculation looks. So you know what emasculation is. It's cutting off a guy's balls, basically, yeah?
Yeah.
And ladies, if any of you have boy children, you want to watch that you don't do this with them, okay? Not
Yeah.
only do we do it to grown men, but we do it to growing up men. Okay, so the first thing is criticizing a man, yeah? Criticizing a man doesn't work. He goes through, like he'll listen to your criticism and a man has several filters and he'll think about, you know, does this match what I know? What's the source that, you know, she's quoting from? There's a whole bunch of stuff. Basically, criticism doesn't work. Acknowledgement and appreciation and having a calm conversation can work. We go through that in one of our level 2 classes. So don't criticize, don't complain. Don't complain about him to him or to other people or to your children. Don't belittle him. Yeah. So, you know, I heard this story about a woman was walking past a magazine rack with her kids, and there's some guys, this of course was back in the day, looking at the porn magazines, and she muttered, "Men are pigs," okay, in front of her children, and so the guy would hear, yeah? So, I mean, that's a very strong comment, and it really puts men down for something that's very natural. They're interested in like visuals for sex, you know? So don't correct him either. This is a big difference between men and women. So women, look, so the feminine, it comes from, we call them the gatherers. Okay, we're talking about way back when we wore loincloths and, you know, skins, a long time ago. We gathered and we'd have a child on one hip and a child in our hand, and we go to the meadow. And, you know, women would have to know everything in detail. So we have to know when the seasons for certain berries are. We have to know which of those berries that are blue can we eat and which of the berries that are blue are going to poison my family. If a woman didn't know that, those kinds of details, she would wreck her life, yeah? She has to remember time, as I say, the seasons. So a man, when he's saying something, like say he's telling a story, a man will tell a story he's just painting a picture. He's not getting all the details because he's coming from a different place. Men are hunters, for one thing. So often they're telling a story to younger people to illustrate how things are done. Sometimes they're doing it to get their energy up because they're having to do a task. And so they're talking about it to other people as a story. And they're telling about the past when they were successful, and that helps them get the energy to move to the next thing that they're going to do. So they're saying, say, a story about, yeah, you know, let me tell you about when I did this last fall. And he goes on to tell a story, and you're going, honey, that was in the springtime. So right away, A, you've interrupted him, and B, you've corrected him, but it's from your own feminine, not realizing that he's doing this for a whole different reason, and your attention to detail is going, woo. But you can zip it, ladies, zip it. And just be aware of that when a man is telling stories, yeah? So that's, don't correct him, don't contradict him, and don't disagree in public, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Don't mock him in front of his friends or even at all. You can always disagree in private and have a conversation about things, that's fine. But to do things like that in public is very ball cutting, yeah? I'll give you a quick story. I was at a wedding, it was a family member on my husband's side. And you know how the groom does a little talk and then the bride does a little talk. So the groom was a very handsome, tall, shy kind of guy, but like, a guy's guy. And so he wasn't very articulate and sort of, bumbled a little bit in his speech. When it was his wife's turn, the first thing she says, well, that went well.
Mm.
I remember feeling like a chill going through my body, thinking this relationship is probably going to have a lot of troubles. Who knows how it's going to last? That's here's a woman who doesn't know. Yeah. So do not mock him. Yeah. Sometimes women say, "Oh, you're such a genius," right? That's mockery. Or you think you're such a jock. Yeah. So rolling your eyes, sarcasm. These are all things that we do without realizing the cost to the relationship. And I'll go over the cost in a bit. A lot of women interrupt men. It's fine, we can interrupt each other. The difference evolutionarily is that women are multi-focus, or shall we say diffuse attention. So if we're in the meadow, we're going to notice everything that's going on. Are the grasses, are they weaving? Is that just the wind, or could it be an animal coming up like a tiger coming through there, but you can't see behind the grass? So, we're kind of hyper aware and we're aware of everything. What's going on? Where are the kids? Are they okay? So that's our diffuse focus. Men are hunters. They have single focus. They have to watch the deer. They have to see how fast it goes so they can calibrate how fast to run and how, when is the time to throw the spear. So men's focus is single. They focus on one thing at a time. So when you interrupt his single focus, he has to make a decision about whether to change his focus, which takes a ton of energy, and then change it back to a single focus. Now, a lot of women will know this from their own being in their own masculine, how very annoying. So I'm 68 now. And as I got older, I noticed that my diffuse attention became much more focused and I became much more single focused. And now it annoys the heck out of me if I'm interrupted when I'm trying to do something or focus on something. It takes so much energy to change your attention. So do your best to just let him be when he's focused on something, a task. There's also something that men do, which is called transition time. They transition from one activity like work to the next one, which is coming home and being with the family and being with you. They need the time. You've noticed this with men, your dad or your boyfriend in the past. They come home, like say it's an office job, they put the keys on the table, the briefcase goes over there, then he goes to watch the news. I remember my dad doing this, go in front of the paper, and he'd be in front of the paper for half an hour. Don't bug me. So it was like really clear, do not bother me. Mm-hmm. Once he's done his transition time and he's gotten through what that last activity was all about, he's doing some integration maybe, then he's fully available for you. Okay, so don't interrupt his transition time if you can possibly help it. Yeah, there's times to interrupt. And then you just have to be kind of clever and respectful. I have something that you need to know. Do you have a minute now? And then it won't take long. And if he says yes, go ahead and make sure it doesn't take long. It's like this or that. Simple. Don't go on. Women go on. Okay. If he says no, then say when would work. Give him that. He has an option to to say no and tell you then when would work. Okay, and you can schedule a time. Okay, good. So what else do I want to say? Don't compare him to other men, your father, your ex-husband or ex, your friend's husband, his brother, past boyfriends, that sort of thing. And like, don't compare him unfavorably to these things. That's emasculating.
Nobody likes to be compared to anybody else, really, in those situations. Yeah.
Not at all. Much better to come from appreciation and gratitude and acknowledgement. That actually gives life to a man. Gives life to anybody, but coming from that, that's your feminine. That's a feminine skill and a gift to develop. How to acknowledge, do it frequently, at least 3 times a day. All right, let's go back to emasculation. So I'll go through maybe a little quicker, should I? Or
Yeah, sure. That's okay. That's perfect. That's an amazing list. Just go ahead.
Okay, good. So don't fault find. Yeah, very hard on men when you're constantly after him. He is how he is. Inspect him before you get involved.
Yeah.
Get to know him.
Do a little test run, right?
Yeah.
Go on a trip. Do a project together. That kind of thing, right?
Beautiful. Yeah, exactly. How does he treat the waiter? How does he treat animals? How does he treat his own mother? I get it. A lot of men have got their own issues, yes. But generally speaking, you can sort of take the temperature of what he's like, yeah. So don't fault find, and don't dominate him. Here's another. It's a different topic, but throwing your weight around, trying to intimidate him, dominating him in every way. Women know if they do that. There's women who say, yeah, I'm not that way. And that's true. But if you dominate people in your life, okay?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't throw your weight around. Don't punish when you don't get what you want. Being happy and getting yourself to happy as often as you can. This is, means you have to take care of yourself. Make sure you eat 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Take water, lots of water. Get enough rest. One thing that'll wreck a relationship is if you're tired all the time. You're working too hard and you don't get the sleep you need, okay? You can't be at your best that way. So there's certain things you just have to look after. Do you need to be social? I don't. I'm actually pretty introverted. But some people, like there's women who just have to have a certain amount of, being with their friends every day, every week, or every month. You have to know that about yourself. Do that. That'll keep you happy. That'll keep you filled up. Maybe you're creative and you have to have a certain amount of, making crafts or making art or doing music or looking at museums, if you're like that and that makes you happy, you have to do that. So, yeah, where was I? Oh, punishing. Yeah, keep yourself happy. So when he does something where you're not getting what you want, so here's what women do. You be cold with him. You withhold your approval. You withhold your attention. I know women, my husband, I'll tell you, he would talk about how his ex would give him the cold shoulder for a week.
Ugh.
That's ridiculous. And it's one of the reasons, of course, that the marriage ended. But women do this. We think that it's a way that we can manipulate men into giving us what we want. It doesn't work. Withholding your participation, withholding sex, withholding your appreciation, all those things. These things weaken a man. Emasculating him, he loses his power like that. And when he loses his power, he can't do the things he's designed to do, which is protect you, provide for you, produce results at work for you, and procreate. Those are the 4 things men are designed and what their purpose is. Yeah. So weakening a man doesn't, it just shuts him down and he loses trust in you, and it will take some time for him to get trust back. Okay, don't treat him like a boy. Too much mother energy or you're manipulating. Yeah. So have you got your hat? It's cold out. Did you take your vitamins?
I
Awesome.
hate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you take notes on that if you're taking a course? You're telling them what to do in a sneaky way. You
Yeah.
can't really tell men what to do. They get very annoyed about it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Well,
You can request.
just like we would get annoyed, after a while, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not that different. And yet women don't see it. Like, see, we think that we own guys. Their time is our time. Their stuff is our stuff. We're
Yeah.
designed for that. Yeah. So we got to get over those things and realize, men are really different from women. What else have we got here? Pointing out how wrong he is, and then going into like a disappointment. Don't get yourself disappointed. Try again. There's ways to make requests that in a calm fashion, giving him choice. There's a difference between a demand and a request, and it doesn't necessarily look like, I need you to do this. That's a demand, but it can also be in the background. You can be very soft and be demanding. Yeah. So request just means that there's a choice. He gets to say yes or no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can set it up. This is a longer topic, but you can set it up so that you're more likely to get more of what you want.
Yeah.
There's ways to do it, but you do it from the feminine. Yeah. And you do it in a certain way. Okay. What else have we got here? Maybe this will be the last thing about the list. A lot of women always have to have the last word or the last text. I have a family member, a grandmother who's always, debate, and then I have to have the last word. Why? Why not let him have the last word? Why do you have to win?
Yeah.
It's debating. Having a conversation with different points of view, that's different. He's entitled, and as are you, to have a certain perspective on life. Yeah. And just because you disagree doesn't mean there's anything wrong. But always, like, debating tends to be a matter of wanting to win. Yeah, that's what the masculine does.
Yeah.
And it's part of the masculine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So don't have to win all the time around debating. Let him win.
Yeah.
In fact, that's a good kind of a mantra to have in your life. Let him win. You'll be surprised when you stop doing some of this stuff, how your coworkers will respond differently to you, your dates will respond differently to you, your relationship, your children. They'll start saying, oh, yeah, this is cool. You take a lot of that pressure off them. So what happens when you emasculate a man? You put him in failure. And failure always, in men, creates shame. It's designed that way. And shame is much more difficult for men. They have 10 times as much cortisol that courses through their system is released when they go in shame than women do. We will never know. The worst kind of shame you've ever felt isn't as bad as, least or moderate kind of shame that men feel. It's horrible for them. And the reason, of course, is that when a man fails, like you look at it evolutionarily, if he fails to protect his family or his village, what happens? He loses everything. And, everybody can see that he's not a man.
Yeah.
So shame is sort of an evolutionary thing for men. And that's one thing we don't want to keep triggering a man. We don't want to keep, these are instinctual. Yeah, some of these things about not being interrupted. It's just how we're designed differently. And we don't want to aggravate the instinctual masculine. So putting him to shame also can trigger his anger, and losing his power, as I mentioned, will trigger him into fury. So all of this weakens the masculine. And you don't want a weak man, right? You may think, oh, it's better to control him, but it's not. So here's what happens when you when you do this with a man and emasculate, and he'll compete with you instead of cherishing you.
Yeah.
Men know how to do all this. Instead of giving you attention, he'll avoid you or ignore you. You know what I'm talking about, because we've all done this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of
That's
trusting you, sorry, dear, he's gonna fear you. Instead of being intimate with you, he's gonna keep his distance. And then instead of protecting you, he's gonna protect himself. Yeah? He'll fight with you, he'll become aggressive with you, or he'll do something to get back at you. The worst case scenario would be maybe something like you're telling him he's not much with all this emasculation, or maybe you've even said that, you know? And so he says, yeah, well, all right, I'll show you. And he goes and has an affair with somebody who thinks he's marvelous. Yeah? So here's what men need from women. Do you think that's a good topic too?
yeah,
Yeah.
please give us more. Yeah.
So men need to feel respected. All those things I was telling you are disrespectful to a man. That will all occur to him as, she's disrespecting me. Yeah. A man needs to be needed. So many women today, in fact, it's becoming like a cultural, no, not a norm yet, but it's out there. Yeah. It's in the ethos that we should be completely independent and not need men at all. But men need to be your hero. They need to win with you. They need to be able to contribute to you. So you as a woman have to learn to receive him well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, he brings you a little something and you go, okay. Or, it's your birthday and he brings you a crappy card or something. What you should be doing is like, oh, thank you you remembered, by the way. Remind him it's your birthday. They don't do this by design. They don't remember stuff like that. So don't get yourself disappointed. Tell him, hey honey, it's my birthday next week, and you know what, I'd love to get some tulips and a beautiful card with funny or something that's pretty. I go and pick out my own cards and give them to my husband. And remember the last time I did that, it was Valentine's Day, and I picked this gorgeous card. I was thinking, oh my God, I hope he sees it. I hope he gets it. And I thought, wait a minute, men aren't designed that way. So I gave it. I said, Gord, would you buy me this for Valentine's Day? It was a week out. He went like this, and he put it in his pocket and he took it. And he said, of course. I mean, that's not what he said, but it was like, he just snapped that up. He knew that he could win with me. Yeah, I set him up to win. You got to do that. I'm not aggrandizing myself. I'm just explaining this, okay? Help him receive his contributions well, with acknowledgement. Men play for points. Yeah, you got to give points for even the little things. It's like a video game. A point here. Oh, the next time he'll try better. He wants more points from you. Okay, but if you can't receive what he has to offer, I've seen women who, a stranger opens the door for him, and they'll say, I don't need you to open the door for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've had women in my courses say, I'm independent. I don't need a man to pay my mortgage. I don't need a man to pay for my vacation. I don't need that. And they're proud of it. And, I think it's true. A woman should have her own money, but she has to allow contribution. She has to let him give stuff to her and appreciate it. Yeah. That other kind of independence is actually a little unhealthy. Yeah. Let him, maybe you do make a lot of money. Maybe you've got a great salary or something. Yeah, but allow him to comfort you, to provide you with those kinds of emotional contributions. Yeah. Okay. A man needs from women to be appreciated. Yeah, he needs to be appreciated for what he provides. Okay, for the results he produces. Oh, honey, thanks for taking out the garbage. I was really dreading having to deal with that yucky stuff. He might change your oil just because that's what he does. Yeah. Appreciate him for it. Start noticing all the things he does for you. Men tend to express love through doing. Not every man, but a lot of men do. And you ignore it partly because, well, we deserve it, as we sort of think, or, well, he should, yeah. But it's just like with your children, appreciate him, appreciate them for the results they produce. You're such a good provider. You're such a good dad. I love how you are with our children. I love how you are with me. You can make a list of 20 things today that you appreciate about him. Keep it in a drawer.
Yeah, these things are so simple to do, right? Just so simple. Just a little line of appreciation can mean so much in a relationship, right?
And you know what else, Diana? It can restore a floundering relationship. It can turn things around. I know this for myself. I've done it, 3 times a day. Now, what a woman has to get over is being pissed off at him, thinking, well, why should I have to do it? Or he's not doing what I want him to do. Why should I acknowledge him? Here's a trick. The more you acknowledge, the more likely you are to get what you want. And just slip it in somewhere during the day. It doesn't have to be like, I acknowledge you for. That's great. Do that too. Okay, honor him. So there are things that are close to his heart that we don't care about necessarily. So, if you're if you're dating a guy who's got kids, his kids may be some of his things that are like is really close to his heart, or his cottage, or maybe he's Mr. Hockey, or, he has to watch CNN every night for half an hour. These are things that are close to his heart, and don't ask him to dishonor himself. Yeah, his values, or don't attack the things that are really important to him. You should find out about those things. He considers them, if he ever thinks about it, as extensions to himself. So you're attacking him when you attack, I don't want to go to the cottage with you this weekend,
Right. Yeah.
Like that. You need to figure stuff like that out. And he needs to feel that you trust him to produce results, to provide and whatever he can provide for you. You can ask, this is kind of more under being needed. One of the things that is so easy is just ask him for advice, ask him, but make sure you take it. Do not ask a man for his advice unless you're going to take it. Don't say, well, what kind of car should I get? And he says, well, get a Ford Explorer and you buy a Kia or something, because his advice is himself. He's thought long and hard about what his opinion is. Women's opinions, we change them day to day. Today I feel this way. Tomorrow I feel this way. This is my opinion today. Not for man. Yeah, so do not dishonor his opinion by not taking his advice. But if you're going to take his advice, ask him for it. Or else just say something like, honey, I'm trying to figure out my options. I'm not ready to make a decision about what to do. What would you say if I wanted to buy a car? I'm trying to figure out what my options are. Ask him to open up a jar of pickles. You can do it yourself. But ask him. Give me a shoulder rub. Can you make me a cup of tea? Okay. So there we go. That's a little bit about. Wait.
More?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Say what you were going to say.